Hey, good afternoon to you, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your lunches right now. It's good to see you, and it's good to be seen. How the hell are you today? I am doing fantastic. For those of you watching this on Facebook, welcome back, and that's for you, Facebook, because as you know, I, of course, was able to, with the help of a lot of good friends, thank you, Charles Street, thank you, Trevor Walker, thank you, William Smith, I was able to slightly circumvent Facebook's ban on me, and I'll discuss that in just a minute. Um, well, I'm excited too, Vinny. I think everybody's going to like it. And thank you. But yeah, so what happened was last Tuesday in the evening, or was it Wednesday? I can't remember if it was Tuesday or Wednesday. It must have been Wednesday. I made a jokey comment to a friend on a Facebook group, and it was a little light ribbing and addition warning. And so what Facebook did was they decided that I had been naughty. That saying to a friend in the context of a joke, "you shut your whore mouth," meant that I had to go away for 3 days. So, yeah, I got a little vacation courtesy of the Zuck. Of course, he got his private phone number got leaked. Um, all those times when Facebook has pestered you to use your phone number, I certainly hope you never have. But if you have, that's on you, not on me. But yeah, so I had to ask some friends to post up the link to the YouTube only live streams so people on Facebook could go over there and watch me. And it worked quite well, actually, because I have my Facebook page set to where friends can post to it, and Facebook does not prevent you from using chat. So I just chatted up people and I said, "Hey, could you post this link over on my Facebook account?" So everything that I needed Facebook for, and you don't need Facebook for anything really other than a dopamine release and stalking your high school boyfriends or girlfriends. I was able to circumvent their ban on me. It's like standing outside the bar. "Hey man, could you go in there and get me a beer? After you've been kicked out." Anyway, so that's what happened with that. Now, as I said last week, we got a great mail call Monday happening, and I'm super duper excited about it. And we're going to get to that soon. I hope everyone had a fantastic holiday weekend. I did get a visit from the Easter Bunny. I got some Star Wars Legos, which are put together now, and the box is it's just out of reach on the other side of the table. I'll show those to you some other time. But it is a Chibi Millennium Falcon that actually, like, you can fire the turret gun on it. It uses a little just these little plastic tiddlywink like things to flip a couple of little red clear discs off, which, as I was putting the thing together and realizing how their little cannons worked, it occurred to me that when I was a kid, if I had gotten this for Easter, first of all, I would have put it together Easter morning. I put mine together last night sometime around 9, and as I was putting it together, I was like, if I was a kid, one major piece of this would be gone, missing, and I wouldn't have but just one of the little red missiles left that shoots out of the main gun. Then he says, "The only purpose that Facebook serves is to view D&D TSR hobby goodies and info." Yeah, I got some actual dear friends that it makes me feel good to be in touch with all the time. people that I otherwise would have difficulty staying in touch with. MJ Stark, who is an absolute angel and friend of mine. I'm so glad that I can just pop over and say hi to her. But yeah, no, in general, Facebook is just it's not that big of a deal. They take themselves way too seriously. But anyway, the other thing I got from Mrs. Easter Bunny and the kids, by the way, was incredibly super cool. I got these spiffy Star Wars action figures. Take a look at those. So this is the Mandalorian, the Child, Cara Dune, IG-11, and a Stormtrooper. Now, all these are good guys. I wish instead of a Stormtrooper, they had included the Ugnaught, and I can't remember his name, but he was voiced by Nick Nolte. He was hands down one of my favorite characters on The Mandalorian, and it made me sad when he got killed by the stormtroopers. I mean, I was legitimately disappointed because I would have loved for him to have been a character throughout that show. I mean, just as I have spoken, and just goes on his way. I could identify with him more than almost anyone else. And if you weren't going to put him, then I think Carl Weathers' character should have gotten included, because he's an important dude too. And it's nice to have a piece of Cara Dune playset sort of action figure there. We love us some Cara Dune around these parts. And I think to not get banned again from social media, I should probably not voice my opinions about what happened there. And he says, I'd love to see a Ron Howard create a Han Solo series take place after the Solo film. You know what? Okay, so I was, for the longest time, an expanded universe guy. But my expanded universe was the 3 Star Wars films novelized, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and the Han Solo trilogy. That was it. So when people would, I would tell people, I've read the Star Wars book. Oh yeah? Well, what do you mean? Well, and the Marvel Star Wars comics back in the 70s and 80s. They'd say, well, what do you mean? The other Star Wars books. And I'd say, oh, well, the Han Solo trilogy and Splinter of the Mind's Eye. And most people I knew who were my age, which was like 6, 7, 8 years old, they hadn't read those. They didn't know those existed. So that was the expanded universe for me. It was the Star Wars comics and Splinter of the Mind's Eye and the Han Solo trilogy. So if you say to me, yeah, we're, like when they said, oh, we're making a Han Solo movie, I was like, oh, holy shit, are they going to do it? Are we going to see some Han Solo stars in Han Solo's Revenge, Han Solo and the Lost Legacy? Nope. A bad heist movie, which has, it's got Lando Calrissian with a penchant for fucking robots or something. I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it, to be honest with you, because I knew it wasn't going to be the Han Solo trilogy. And we can never have a young Han Solo played by a young Harrison Ford. I mean, let me see. Now, one thing you know who personally I think could have done a fantastic job as a young Han Solo, Zach Levi. If you're familiar with the show Chuck on NBC back in the early 2000s, Zach Levi would have been a fantastic young Han Solo. That just my 2 cents. I think he's got the look. I think he could have pulled it off. I think it would have worked really well. Or Ross. Ross. What is Ross's name? Let me. Ross Marquand. He does. Ross Marquand gets voices down pat, man. He. Okay, this is going to sound like such a weird swerve, but bear with me. Ross Marquand is kind of a man of 1,000 voices. He stepped in and voiced Red Skull in the Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. That and portrayed him too. That was actually not Hugo Weaving. But so after Disney took over Star Wars, it gave writers of ancillary things the ability to use Star Warsy stuff. And they ended up using, making an episode of a very cute cartoon show called Phineas and Ferb, entirely based around Star Wars. And it was it was kind of fun because it took place during exactly the same arc that Star Wars did. But it was the characters were all kind of reacting to things that the main characters were doing, or they were off just like to the right of it or whatever. And one of the characters runs into Han Solo, who is having a drink before he leaves. It's my wife's kitty cat. Before he leaves Yavin, where Han is sort of having this internal struggle about whether or not just to leave Luke and the rebellion to their fate. And Han Solo is voiced by Ross Marquand, and he does a fantastic Harrison Ford impression. So I like either one of those actors putting on those spaceman boots for a Brian Daley, at least inspired trilogy would have been phenomenal to see. Would be phenomenal to see, but again, I don't think we'll see that. I mean, you know, Kathleen Kennedy and company have decided that anything that Disney didn't come up with doesn't exist, and it just comes down to not wanting to pay the people who wrote those books. You know, what was it that Oaf said? She said something about the difficulty of creating new Star Wars stories is unlike comic books. We don't have this, you know, this massive backlog of stories to fall back on. You can't make this shit up, people. Anyway, that really I kind of went down a road I didn't want to go to. I when it comes to Star Wars, just so everybody's clear, the books I mentioned, the comics I mentioned, The Mandalorian and Rogue One. The Mandalorian and Rogue One, righteous. The rest of them, not so much. And yeah, that unfortunately includes the prequel trilogy. The prequel trilogy had its moments. The sequel trilogy had promise, but had no moments. It really didn't. It really didn't. The bits between John Boyega and Um, uh, I forget the other actor's name. The two dudes, you know who I'm talking about. That could have really been something to build on, but no, we had to have Mary Ray Sue in and ruin all of Star Wars' lore. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Damn it, we're not here to talk about nerdy stuff. We're here to talk about Dungeons and Dragons today. So, as I said, we have a mail call today. And today's mail call comes courtesy of not just a friend of the show, but a good friend in general. And he's actually right here in town. Kind of an interesting backstory. I had, up until a couple of years ago, a Lizard logo original 1977 copy, a basic of the introductory set of Dungeons and Dragons, the one with the book edited by J. Eric Holmes. I have had that particular book on the Crazy Gibberish Antique Roadshow, as it were, for Dungeons and Dragons. I had this set. It was pretty cool. It even came with the original dice. It didn't have the rule book in it, and I scrounged around trying to find a Lizard logo rule book in it to complete it, to either keep or to sell, and I couldn't find one. Eventually, I found a Wizard logo book. I included that one and sent it and the dice on its way for way too little money. Those things are crazy expensive on the secondhand market. But it disappointed me that I had to let this weird keystone piece of D&D history go. But, you know, needed grocery money. So away it went. And, well, Rusty knew I was out of it. So he actually picked one up and donated it to the show. And so that's what I'm gonna that's what I'm gonna feature today. So this is what we've got. Now I kind of spoiled it, you know, it's in this here box and not really gonna open it and surprise you guys because I've already told you what it is. But there's still a surprise coming. Oh yeah. So here we have, and it's very well packed. Big thanks to the original seller. This is how you pack a rare D&D item. The surprise, because Rusty didn't open this when he got it. I opened it when I got to his house and picked it up on Friday afternoon. And here we go. Here you have Holmes Dungeons and Dragons. Take a good look at that. This set is pristine. If I didn't know any better, I might think that this was some kind of reproduction. I don't think it is unless somebody has gone to ultra extremes to reproduce this. This is crispy, minty new. There is barely any box dishing on the front of this. Like none that I feel compelled to attempt to fix. And yes, you can fix that. Maybe I'll do like how to repair your classic D&D items so they look better and hold up better episode one day. There is a little bit of shelf wear right here and right here. Otherwise, I mean, you just don't see copies like this. And wait till you see the contents, okay? Now, this is a copy that featured the cutout chits, not dice. So you can check that out. So I'm going to read the back cover blurb to you here. You are holding a fantastic world of sword and sorcery adventures in your hands. In Dungeons and Dragons, You become a mighty wizard, a fearless hero, a stout dwarf, a clever halfling, or any one of a dozen other adventurers ready to explore the mazes and labyrinths of a vast and deep dungeon. Now, I question that. A dozen? You can be a human, which can be a fighter, a cleric, a thief, or magic user. That's 4. You can be a dwarf. Dwarves can only be fighters. That's 5. You can be a halfling. Halflings can be fighters or thieves, I think, in Holmes Basic. So that's 6, 7. And elves are automatically fighter magic users. That's 8, 9. That's not dozens. That's not even a dozen. I take issue, Mr. Holmes, or Gygax, or whoever wrote that. I'm kidding, of course. Ready to explore the mazes and labyrinths of a vast and deep dungeon, or perhaps trek through uncharted wilderness in search of the fabulous treasures and magic which are hidden there. But this wealth is not easily gained, for terrible guardians lurk nearby, and such monsters as orcs, ogres, trolls, giants, dragons, and even worse must be defeated in order to gain their hoarded treasure. Dungeons and Dragons is the original game of fantasy role-playing. It is a truly unique experience, for each participant assumes a game persona who goes, sorry, I don't have my readers on, who goes from adventure to adventure, growing more powerful and capable with each successful expedition. Unlike any other game you have ever played before, Dungeons and Dragons will allow you to completely unleash your imagination and creativity while still posing interesting game situations and endless challenges. Come and visit our world. This box contains your complete Dungeons and Dragons game. Dungeons and Dragons game book. Complete introductory module, The Keep on the Borderlands. Randomizer chits bound in game book. And this is, of course, Wizard logo. And it is in excellent shape. It is in excellent shape, Vinny. And we have this gorgeous, gorgeous Dave Sutherland art that just... I mean, a lot of people talk about having just gotten the blue book. You really miss out when you don't have... When you don't have this to gaze upon. Look, I'm really, I gotta find a place to display this for easy access, and because I don't want this crushed, I don't want this damaged. So let's open it up. Let's do an actual unboxing. This is not merely a take a look at. This is an unboxing. I started with a BECMI Menser anything. Yeah, my D&D was kind of a hybrid. I started out with the Holmes version of B2 and sort of intuited the rules from the pull-out sheets that are in it. Then I got a copy of the Monster Manual, then a Dungeon Master's Guide, then an basic D&D set and an expert D&D set. That was my D&D for the longest time. I had to interpolate the player data in basic D&D into AD&D. It was crazy. It was crazy. Oh, my only other module that I had as a kid was Slave Pits of the Undercity. Bought at Zares, purchased at Zares. All right. So let's take a look. No marks inside the lid. No tears on the corners. You'll look at that there. Whoops. So, there we go. So, no tears on the internal corners. We're going to carefully set this lid over here and let our friends from Star Wars guard that. Oh, we have a YouTube chat here. Love D&D, but Call of Cthulhu is a better game for lovers of true horror. I won't argue that, Gristle. I won't. D&D was... You can do horror with D&D. And as Chaosium improved, you can use the BRP system for fantasy. But yeah, no, I won't argue the point. Okay, so let's look at the first item from the box. And again, pristine look at this book. This is clean. There are no stains on this. I feel like I have a theory. No, I don't feel like I have a theory. I have a theory. What I feel like, given the condition of this, and this is in such good condition, there's no exterior rust on these staples. I know you guys can't see that and probably don't care, but there's no rust on these staples. Look, the book still has some bowing to it. I think this was purchased for someone who liked D&D, but maybe already had advanced D&D. Or maybe they had no interest in playing D&D, and it just sat on a shelf as a nice gift. They leafed through it and then decided, no. The corners of this are still sharp and crispy, like it was punched out at the print shop. There's a little rust, oddly enough, that while there's no rust outside, there's a little rust inside, and it falls open evenly to the exact middle page, 25. There's no staining on this, nothing. Now, I feel like we should do a really deep dive on the Holmes rules one day, and you guys should let me know if you want me to do that. That's a crazy way to learn your D&D rules. Yeah, it is. Or it was, rather. But I feel like we should do a deep dive on the Holmes rules one day and just talk about how odd they are in comparison to other versions and editions of D&Ds, because they really are their own beast. I mean, it really does feel like it's just J. Eric Holmes' OD&D house rules with a lot of nods to AD&D forced in by Gary. And I don't mean forced in a negative way. But of course, this edition has some great artwork that doesn't appear anywhere else. What's interesting is this does feature the forward from the original Dungeons and Dragons set with some minor corrections. So when we get to, let me see if I can find it here. The campaign referee will have to have sufficient time to meet the demands of his players. He will have to devote a number of hours laying out the maps and dungeons of upper terrain before the affair begins. The third booklet of this set will be of great help in this respect. And then it just kind of goes on and it mentions other books. But then parenthetically after that paragraph, it says, this information is now included in the single book you have in your hand. So they were recycling a lot from OD&D into this book. But I do want to point out that as this is a 46-page book, this is not nearly everything you get in original D&D. And that, on the deep dive, must be discussed. You know, how neutered original D&D is, but or this is in comparison to original D&D. Sorry. But this was meant as a selling point. This is the shareware version. This is the $4.99 inexpensive single floppy disk version. If you remember software like that in the 90s of Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of people, and myself included, decried the crippled nature, the shorted nature of the introductory set that Wizards of the Coast introduced back in 2015. I think it was. Because you can't make your own characters. You have to go online and download a system to make your own characters. And even then, the book only covers up to 5th level characters. Well, this only covers up to 3rd, even though it does include character generation rules. Who's that behind me? my office haunted? Anyway, so, but yeah, this basically is to get you to buy and play Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, because on pages 6 and 7, there are 3 references to AD&D on those 2 pages. After they reach the 4th level experience, they also increase their ability to get hits on an opponent, but experience levels that high are not discussed in this book, and the reader is referred to the more complete rules in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Let's see. And then in the next column, there are special rules for halflings, dwarves, and elves who wish to be thieves. These are given in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So I misspoke earlier when I said halflings could be thieves in Holmes Basic. They can only be fighting men. Just missed. Very funny, Gristle. Let's see. And then finally, additional character classes. There are a number of other character types which are detailed in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, lots of references early on to go play Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. But, you know, this is a lot of people swear by this. In fact, I featured on and I will discuss this more when we do a deep dive on this, the Blue Home rulebook, which is Advanced Holmes D&D, but it's not AD&D. It basically extrapolates out what a Holmes that went up to higher levels might have been. So next thing in the box we've got is yet another copy of Keep on the Borderlands. And this is interesting here. Okay, so by 1980, TSR had switched over to an actual basic Dungeons and Dragons that was separate from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. The Dungeons and Dragons introductory set, edited by J. Eric Holmes, came out in 1977, concurrent with the release of the Monster Manual, the hardback Monster Manual. And they, at that point, OD&D kind of became a legacy product. They were still selling stocks of it, but it wasn't officially supported any longer. So, but by 80, the Holmes Basic had been superseded by the Tom Moldvay edited Basic D&D and Expert D&D sets, the magenta and blue boxes. Here's the interesting thing. Okay, so I bought, my parents bought me a copy of B2, which got me into D&D in 81 or 82, and it was geared for Holmes Basic. I distinctly remember monsters being given dex scores, for example, and their alignments fitting the 6 rather than the 3 of Moldvay Basic. There are creatures that are specifically mentioned as being chaotic evil, for example, whereas in the version that was edited for Moldvay, they're just referred to as chaos, or chaos and evil, but not chaotic evil. So keep that in mind. This set was depreciated by 1980-81. And it came out in 77. Now, obviously, this is not a 77 set. It has Keep on the Borderlands, not Journey into the Unknown. What was that module called? In Search of the Unknown. I'm sorry. I always mess that up. Sorry. It does not have In Search of the Unknown in it. It does have Keep on the Borderlands in it. But this copy of Keep on the Borderlands, this crispy, minty copy, that again, I would almost think was a reprint, but there's no barcode on it. There's no Wizards of the Coast information on it. This is a 1980 print in a set that can't be any older than 79. So I'm wondering if this is cobbled together, which I don't knock it at all, but this says copyright 1980 by TSR Hobbies. So I wonder if they were just throwing sets together in TSR Shipping and Receiving and shipping them out. Here's a 1979 set. We're still printing this module. We haven't converted them all over to Moldvay Basic. Okay, throw them in the box together. But this is a crispy, minty copy of B2. This is in better shape than the one that I currently have in the Silver Anniversary box set. That one I flipped through a lot, but this is in just amazing shape. There's the tiniest bit of shelf wear on the spine. The booklet inside is absolutely pristine. Little bit of staple wear. And I love this copy of Keep on the Borderlands because it has... Now, I like the Jim Rosloff Minotaur, but I absolutely love the Errol Otis half-page Minotaur LO. And I think this does also make mention of playing with AD&D. Let's see. Looking along here. Because earlier standalone copies of Keep on the Borderlands mentioned on the cover that it could be converted to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. See, okay, here on the cover it says, this module includes a cover folder with maps and a complete description booklet to form a ready-made scenario for basic Dungeons and Dragons. But basic D&D, this is a basic set, but it doesn't say basic D&D. So this is really intriguing. The contents of this box are really, really, really intriguing. And does this one mention that the DM can convert it over to AD&D? It doesn't anywhere. See, my copy that I got as standalone, the book that got me into D&D, on the cover says, yeah, you can convert this, with a little bit of effort, you can convert this to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and mentions on the inside, you can adjust things for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. This says it's for basic D&D, but it is for Holmes basic D&D, not for Moldvay, and definitely not for Menser. It's just such a strange little copy. And it has one of my favorite uncorrected features in it. Not that it's an error, but Encounter Area 63. It is literally the penultimate encounter of the module in terms of number. Storage chamber. There are many piles of boxes, crates, barrels, sacks, and so forth here. The supplies of the temple are kept here. There is nothing of value, and if the party stays within the place for longer than 3 rounds, a gelatinous cube will move down the corridor in the place and block it. And it mentions there's a lot of bones, but it says one of the bones is actually a wand of fireballs with 9 charges left. If it is not gotten out, of the monster within 1 turn, it will be ruined by digestive juices. The secret door in the room leads to an old chieftain chamber, blah, 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 blah. That actually got changed later on to a wand of enemy detection. Wand of fireballs is so much better. It's the difference between a box of bullets and the BFG and a cell pack. You know, it's like if you were playing Doom and you get to a point where you're like, yeah, all I got to do is press this switch and a secret door opens and there's a BFG and a cell pack in there. And you hit that switch and it opens and there's a box of bullets. It's like, no. So I'm glad my copy has that. So yeah, no mentions of AD&D anywhere in this copy, but it is still for Holmes Basic. This is such an intriguing oddball set to me. And I love it. And I love how fresh and crispy minty it is. All right. So the next thing, oops. Every time I touch my keyboard, it tries to close windows and everything else. Move that back a little bit. I'm going to read some comments here. Chris says, nice. My copy of B2 that came with a Moldvay box set, though it's worse for the wear. Well, that means you played it. That means you played it and enjoyed it and you love it. When people say, oh, look how beat up my copy of the Dungeon Master's Guide or Temple of Elemental Evil is or whatever, that means you have enjoyed it and you've had a good time with it, you know? Every stain, every spill, every mark represents a day, a time when you had it open and you were playing it and you were enjoying it. Now, granted, there are accidents, like, you know, well, we had a really destructive Catahoula that got into my D&D box and, you know, shook my books to pieces. That can be kind of tragic. But if you've got a well-worn set that you played with and enjoyed, then by God, you know that ring on the inside back cover of your copies of Deities and Demigod is because Tommy put his soda there, or, you know, the grease on the entry for the beholder in the monster manual is because you'd been eating pizza that day and you reach and you're like, it's this, it looks like that. So yes, while not completely useless, the one of enemy detection makes me, I use my, yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it can be useful, I guess, if you don't know whether or not there's an enemy ambush going to happen. I don't know. Just a wand of fireballs is a lot more useful. That's all I'm saying. And if ever I run B2 again, it's a wand of fireballs. Screw the wand of enemy detection. That's what it is. Chris says, well, not completely useless. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just read that. Sorry. Vinny says, I've got a PDF of that set I need to locate. I'm not sure if you're referring to the Moldvay or the or the Holmes set. Now, to my knowledge, the Holmes rulebook is not available as a PDF, but if it is, somebody let me know. Let's see. Grisol says, "Oh, good Lord, you've blown the YouTube chat up. Let me catch up with your comments here, guys." It is weirdly intriguing. It is very weirdly intriguing, and I feel like this is just, it's an enigma wrapped inside a puzzle, wrapped inside a mystery. All my old books look like they've been chewed by Cerberus. Now, are you talking about the little aardvark? Or the three-headed dog guarding Hades? For those of you who aren't old enough, Cerberus was a mature in the sense of themes rather than being like actually entertaining. Cerberus, the aardvark, was a multi-thousand-paged polemic written by Dave Sim and drawn by an artist in the moniker Gerhard, back from like the late 1970s or early 1980s until literally the mid-early 2000s. And oh boy, did Dave Sim have a lot of words. So, but Gristle corrects me. Cerebus. Because, and it's called Cerebus because Dave Sim literally didn't know that it's not Cerebus, it's Cerberus. But by the time he got the comic rolling, it had stuck. There are a lot of parodies in it, and I'm not really going to talk about that comic right now, if ever. But he got a lot of personal polemics in it, and I'm doing it again. Okay, so the next item in the box. Now, I mentioned this was the chit set, and here's the unpunched set of randomizer chits that came with the book, front and back. And these are still slickly laminated. Now, I assumed that this card had been stapled in the book. This was not stapled in. There's no indication that this was stapled in. I used to read a lot of alt comics, Gristle, back in the 80s. I was not your typical kid who read comic books. I mean, I read the X-Men and I read Star Wars comics, but there was a lot of stuff at Duga's Comics that I would pick up, like adult comics that I had to hide from my parents, like AXA, lots of copies of Heavy Metal, Epic, lots of indie John Brunner stuff, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when it was a violent and gory and not at all, well, it was tongue-in-cheek in its own way, but not the way it is today. Lots of stuff. But anyhow, yeah, look at this. This was actually not clipped in to the book. The mystery deepens so deep. So now listen to this. I love this. So if you don't know what this is that I keep holding up, this is not some kind of combat table. This is actually, you were supposed to take these and cut these apart and put them in a box or a bag or something and draw them out to get a number, a random number. So you had 1 to 20, and there's 20 of those. There's 1 to 10, there's 1 to 6, and so on and etc. And you would put these in a cup and you draw them out to generate a random number on the back. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Gristle. So yeah, there's all these numbers that you can randomly generate with a pull out of a bag. So why no dice? Well, the theories vary wildly over why there was no dice. But it basically comes down to the Blooms, Brian and Kevin, were cheapskates, and they didn't want to give anything to players for free. And then that changed with TSR starting to produce their own dice rather than sourcing them from a third party. So they went from sharp-edged, fairly durable dice in early sets of Holmes Basic to no dice for many years, just these chits, and then to the crumbly dice that were almost as soft as a wax crayon you colored them in with. Pardon me 1 second. Sorry, just had a slight message to reply to, and it explains using the dice or chits. And then it goes on to explain how you draw out the individual chits, this unpunched set of chits. And then it says, if you would like to obtain a set of polyhedra dice to use in preference to the chits with this game, use the coupon below by presenting it at your TSR outlet or sending direct to TSR Hobbies, P.O. Box 756, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, 53147, USA. Yes, I am presenting this coupon to purchase a set of TSR polyhedra dice. Let's get your name, please print, address, city, state, zip, county. The certificate may be used at your local retail outlet selling TSR games, or dice may be purchased directly from TSR Hobbies by mail, allowing, brace yourselves, kids, 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. 4 to 6 weeks. Now, I understand TSR was not ever Amazon. I understand that it was a different time, but it just kind of cracks me up because if I bought dice online, I could have them here tomorrow. Hell, if I bought them from Amazon, which I won't do, I could do it today. I could have them here today. So, and I love the all official stuff on the back. It says, the bearer of this certificate shall be entitled to purchase a set of polyhedra dice at $1.50 U.S. funds outside of continental U.S. at $1 postage and handling. To proprietor, TSR Hobbies will redeem. I get the feeling that Gary wrote this. Will redeem this coupon for the difference between current suggested retail and $1.50 US plus 20% of that difference for handling. Certificate valid where prohibited by law. Void, I'm sorry, that didn't make any sense. Certificate void where prohibited by law. To be valid, certificate must include name and complete address of redeemer. So yes, indeed, there is a coupon for dice included with a chit set, which came with this set. Now, all that stuff would be cool enough. All that stuff in any condition would be cool enough. The fact that this set is in ultra pristine condition is awesome. But in the words of the late great Billy Mays, but wait, there's more. Probably something that I would like to do just a deep dive on by itself. Just do a separate D&D RPG Antiques Roadshow. And I'm gonna grab this real quick here out of the box. What's in the box? Let's see. And I'm gonna flip over back to the other tab. Oh, wrong tab. Shall be in time. It does sound a lot like Gary. It does sound a lot like him. But the prize in the Cracker Jack box, it was like literal jaw on floor when I opened this. And it's also in pristine condition. We have a TSR, the Game Wizards product catalog. Look at this, guys. This is this was printed yesterday. Again, minimal staple rust. The Game Wizards present your gateway to adventure. This is now 2 of these catalogs that I have with what appears to be, yes, that is that Dave Sutherland's art? I think that is Dave Sutherland's art. And these strange triangular shapes that show off in full color some of the goodies you can order from TSR. And I'm gonna be going on and on about this. This is going to get its own Antiques Roadshow during another episode, maybe later this week. But there's so much wonderfulness here. And again, it's in like new condition. This really, I am just, this whole set is so awesome, and it's such a great conversation piece, and it's a great game piece. So now, I have said before, I'm not a D&D collector, I'm a D&D player, so you can rest assured that this is not going to get put inside a Lexan box and set high up on a shelf, some argon-filled preservation chamber with, a UV protective layer, coated polycarbon Lexan lucite container. This is going to get put on a shelf, and if somebody wants to play, and this is what's to hand, then we'll play. I'll just be very careful with it because I want it to last. So that was today's mail call from Rusty Schaefer. And Rusty, I thank you so much for sending that in, for the giftiness of it, not just a contribution to the Crazy Gibberish live stream, but the giftness of it. And I've got to figure out a good place to put it up on display. I think I know where it's going to go. For sure. I think I know where it's going to go. So, yeah, that was that was all right. Now, I've got some other stuff happening, some other stuff going on, but I want to make sure I catch up on comments here. Got a lot of comments today. That's nice. Yeah. Let's see. Yep. He's a hell of a guy, that Rusty. And let's see. Chris says, still have most of the dice that came with my Moldvay Basic and Cook Experts. The obnoxiously yellow D20 that came with the basic set is now almost a sphere from all the rolling. Yeah, I can believe it. I have my percentile dice that came with Star Frontiers, and they're pretty crumbly. I have one of my original Moldvay Basic D10s that is pretty crumbly, and I have my Star Frontiers dice that are, kind of wonky too. Well, hey there. You guys in these names, Rob Cocculus 1, thank you for stopping by. Hello to you. So, now that we've gone over the OD&D sets, I want to bring a couple of things up before I forget them. I will be uploading, in the past, I have interviewed many luminaries from TSR, and some people who are not from TSR, but are still awesome folks, here on Facebook. So I've downloaded those videos. I'm going to be creating a bumper for them to give them a little bit of context. And starting this week, I'm going to start uploading them to YouTube. So if you missed those when I did them on Facebook, because Facebook makes it obnoxiously hard to find anything that's not more than a day or two old on anyone's timeline, I will... those will start uploading to YouTube, which will hopefully screw with the algorithm a little bit and get me over 1,000 viewers or subscribers on YouTube, which sounds kind of like a greedy thing, but I just want to make something I have the weirdest fans over on YouTube. But it sounds a little weird, but I want to. There's some utility things that they don't let you do unless you have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that dovetails into my question, my ask to everyone, whether you're over on YouTube or over on Facebook. Of course, Waster Wednesdays is when I can connect with my good buddy Kyle. He is my Wednesday co-host, and I absolutely appreciate his input. He is the author of the upcoming Conflict modern combat role-playing game, which it's a great game. If you play Traveler, then you should be familiar with the style game. We played a little bit last Wednesday when I had video problems, which I'll kind of explain here again in a minute. But so Wednesday, Kyle and I tend to hang out. What do you want to see this coming Wednesday? A couple of weeks ago, we took Kyle's character Adequate, who has all 10s and all of his stats. Deliberate choice by him. I let him pick his stats, and he just took 10s down the line. And is exploring Keep on the Borderlands. And I did a virtual live game just running his character through Keep on the Borderlands. So do you want that? Do you want us to continue that game? The following week, this last week, Kyle ran through a session of Conflict where I got into a brawl in a diner with a couple of guys. You know, my dude who just mustered out of the military is kind of an almost like if you've seen Clint Eastwood's Heartbreak Ridge, sort of a Heartbreak Ridge sort of feel to it. You know, a couple of townies not liking the military guy. Started a bit of a fuss. Fisticuffs, no guns. So if you want to see some more Conflict playthrough, let me know. Or if you just want Kyle and I to chill and talk about just gaming in general, just BS about D&D or tabletop gaming, we can do that. But you got to let me know. Now, I would put a poll on YouTube and just let it poll, and then do a poll on Facebook, which I can do a poll on Facebook, but I can't do one on YouTube because I have less than 1,000 subscribers. I can't award super chats. You know, you can't get a super chat. Not that I have a huge influx of people in the chat, and I'll miss your chat over anyone else. But if you want to super chat me, you can't. I have less than 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you're over on Facebook and you only watch me on Facebook and you don't do YouTube, please go over to YouTube. If you have a Google account, subscribe to me. You don't have to watch the videos over there, but I want to get that subscriber count on YouTube over 1,000 so I can do things like create polls and ask what you guys might want to see over there as well as over here. BS about gaming in general is my vote. Okay, so we've got a vote. Gristleair said, BS about gaming in general is his vote. Currently, a plurality is controlling what we're going to see on Wednesday. If you don't want that, if there's 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 of you watching this video between now and Wednesday, or 100 or whatever, and you don't want to see that, you got to let me know. You know, some kind of engagement. Put it down in the comments, whatever. Thank you, Chris, for subbing to YouTube. I appreciate that. Subs always appreciated. Again, you don't have to engage with me on YouTube in any way at all if you don't want to, other than subscribing. But it helps the Crazy Gibberish out. It helps me reach out to you guys. So that's that's me beating on the pulpit today. Please just go subscribe and then watch or listen however you please. So my plan up now is to get, I'm going to reach out to some wonderful folks and see if I can bring some folks in. Oh, I was going to mention a couple of technical things. And I know you guys love hearing me talk about my studio constantly. And I've said that, it's reached its final form, blah, 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 blah. I ordered a new camera head. So basically a tripod can be in two pieces. It's got a little 1/4-inch bolt that you can put straight into a camera, or in some cases you can buy a separate tripod head that'll do tilt and pan and attach it to that bolt, then attach the camera to the tripod head. I got one of those to mount on my new boom arm, so I'll be able to move the camera around a little bit better and adjust it rather than constantly untightening the nuts on all the joints on the camera boom to move it back and forth. And what that has to do with the price of tea in China is that Thursday I will be doing a painting stream. Thursdays from now on, unless I have a guest slated, like that's the only day they can do, Thursdays will just be me painting. I'm not a great painter, but I can pass on what I know. So if you're going to pick up the brush and work on minis or even terrain pieces, maybe you'll get something out of that. But I just want to do it because A, it's an excuse for me to keep painting, and B, people seem to like it. I don't know. People seem to like it. So if you want to watch some painting, you can go by Thursday. But I'm gonna and the last thing I was gonna mention, last Wednesday's stream with Kyle went awry because I forgot that OBS, Open Broadcast Software, the tool that I use to communicate to you guys to stream with, is it's built, or no, not OBS. Scratch that. Discord, which I communicate with Kyle and then capture in OBS, is actually built on the Chromium engine that Google created. It can use your video card or your CPU to speed up its graphics displays. For some reason, if that's switched on, OBS can't capture it. It just can't. A lot of things can't capture displays that have graphics acceleration turned on. I don't know why. I'm not a programmer. Well, once I dug down into the guts of Discord, I was able to shut that off, and I should be able to, both me and Kyle, be on the live stream on Thursday at the same time. So I think on the old PC I did that and then promptly forgot about it, and when I switched over to a newer 4th gen system from the 2nd gen i5 system that I had to do the live streaming on, I literally forgot to set that up, and it didn't become an issue until I tried to live stream with Kyle. So that's all taken care of. So fear not for black screens. And then, like I said, I want to reach out to lots of folks who were at Virtual GaryCon and get them in here for after action stuff. I know Jim Ward said he would come on. I'm not gonna say dates and times because I want to do it when it's convenient to them. And if I say, yeah, hey, Jim Ward will be here tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning, he might not be okay with that. I got to talk to him first and confirm with him first. So, but all the older interviews I will be uploading to YouTube, so you'll be able to watch those on YouTube. Well, with that said, folks, I think that just about takes us right up to the end of where we're going to be today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It was fun digging into this Holmes Basic Dungeons and Dragons set. This is truly one of the cooler D&D things that I own. Rusty will be providing a little bit more of RPG history. He has the coffee table book copy of Metamorphosis Alpha, Jim Ward's other science fiction role-playing game than Gamma World, from back in the day. Jim's done a lot of cool RPG stuff. But one of these days soon, I'm gonna take the whole studio on the road, and we're gonna set it up over at Rusty's place, and we're gonna do a remote live stream, because that book is huge. I don't blame him for not wanting to lend it to me off premises. I mean, this thing, it's like, I don't know, it's like one of those coffee table atlases of the United States of America. So yeah, that's a thing that's going to happen. Tracy, if you're out there watching, I'm going to drag you kicking and screaming onto the show this week, probably Friday. Just be prepared for it. It's going to happen. And I'm going to let you guys go. In conclusion, I'll say this. I'm just about... oh yeah, I did a whole thing about Gamma World there, Gristle. You gotta check out the Jim Ward interviews when I get those up, and my Gamma World deep dive and everything. But in conclusion, let me just say this. Watch your asses on social media, because apparently making jokes and posting up news pictures and stuff like that, Facebook really hates. And I look at it like this: like, a lot of people who are even just a little bit younger than me don't remember BBS culture. They don't remember bulletin board system culture, which predated Facebook. It predated Usenet. It predated everything. But it was social media. When people say social media, they act like it's a thing that just happened. We had social media when I was 10 years old. Yes, computer social media. I don't mean, lol, we went outside and played. No. We had, and there was global social media. There was Quantum Link. There was, lots of other time sharing network systems out there. But the one thing we were aware of was that the guy who ran, the Dark Dungeon BBS on his parents' phone line after 9 o'clock Eastern Standard, because you don't call somebody after 9 o'clock at night. That is a that was social media, but the bulletin board belonged to the guy who set it up. And if he said, hey, this talk is about Elle McPherson, only talk about Elle McPherson and how hot she is in this message door, and somebody went in there saying, no, man, Kathy Ireland's like 10,000 times hotter, he might just be like, screw you, screw your messages, and throw you off, and you'd be done, because it belonged to him. Keep that in mind. Facebook belongs to somebody else. As shitty as it is, because as much authority as they wield in media, Facebook is under no obligation, nor is YouTube, nor is Twitter, to give you a voice. It belongs to them. And as long as we're under the gun like that, until something changes, watch your P's and Q's. I mean, I know people who are on like 30-day Facebook vacations. Okay, I got 3 days off, and it irritates me. because I didn't get that dopamine. But just be aware, guys. Just be aware. So now I'm going to let you go. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, RoboCoculus1 and Gristle Dick McShitwit over on YouTube. I have the best fans, folks. I have the best fans. I love you all regardless. Thank you, Vinny. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, anyone who just kind of sat out there, and you just had this going on in the background. I'm sorry for the for the expletives. It's their usernames. I can't do anything about it. I tried. But I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are going to have the roundup from Monday nights. That's tonight's first edition AD&D game. The group has finished White Plume Mountain. That's over. They won. The remains are still Dwarven Forge scattered out on the table here. I got to clean that up so I can show off more cool stuff. So we'll have a recap of the D&D game, and just some others. Maybe we'll take that catalog. Yeah, you know what? Tomorrow we're gonna do D&D Antiques Roadshow, the TSR Gateway to Adventure 1970 whatever 79. I'm gonna call it 1979 until I know better. Gateway to Adventure catalog investigation deep dive, and I'll get the other camera set up over here so you guys can see the pages a little bit better, and it'll be lots of fun. So we'll do that. Again, please go over to YouTube and subscribe. Even if you don't do anything on YouTube, just bump me up over 1,000. I'll do something special at 1,000. We'll have some kind of special event. Maybe an open D&D table. That might be... You know what? That's what I'll do. When I get over 1,000 subscriptions on YouTube, I'll do an open D&D table. And what I mean by that is I'll set up the camera, I'll set up the Dwarven Forge, and for the duration of a live stream, hour and a half, I'll just run some original D&D. And if you want to join in and play, you can do that, and we'll do it virtually over Facebook live stream and YouTube live stream. That is my 1,000 subscriber thing. That's what we'll do for 1,000 subscribers. If you guys can bump those numbers up for me on YouTube, that would be awesome. So peace. I love you all. Please have a great day, and I'll see you all tomorrow.